Back to the final version of discussions with the writer Fred right here at Black Video Network in San Antonio. And as I mentioned before, we are the voice for the community. And starting in 2 weeks, we'll have a different format that will be the voice for the community. So let's shift a little here. So we're talking about poverty. The media has done a lot of what I call propaganda against poor people. And one of the charges was if you got reparations for all black people, the Cadillac dealer would get rich. And I know you all have heard that kind of thing, which puts down these folks. So what's your response to what the media has done in this whole field of poverty?
Well, the first thing that I would say is, as a viewer, you should hear what goes on when the cameras aren't rolling. But no, seriously, this is why a program like this exists. Because we automatically know that the media has not really given us the shake that we really should have as black folks. So in having a program like this, we are able to focus on some of the things, some of the issues, talk about some of the things that we as black folks don't get a chance to talk about. So the first thing that I would say is that kudos to being able to Avista Products and Black Business Video to be able to have a program like this to be able to get the word out. And we want you to participate in this by participating in the media.
And kudos to Carl Booker.
Right.
Carl,
Absolutely.
you'll never see Carl in front of the camera. I've tried to get him on my show over and over again. But he is the person that's made all this happen. And believe me, during my discussion with the writer Fred and going to our new format, we will not be controlled by anybody in the background saying, you can't say this or you can't say that. So, right, kudos to Vista Products, which is part of Black Video Network, and to Carl Booker. So
Carl's that mad scientist that's in the background looking for cold fusion.
Yeah. So, okay, let's get back to the subject. Okay. The propaganda against poor people that we get in the media.
Well, the media is wholly owned and controlled by billionaire families or billionaire entities. So they already approach a subject matter with an agenda, and that agenda is to keep their rich bosses rich. And so, yeah, of course they are going to have a bias when it comes to social programs that. Or any kind of modification in the tax structure, anything that's going to take away from their corporate bosses or billionaire owners. And so, yeah, definitely the media plays a very biased role when it comes to the subject of economics, when it comes to the subject of reparations. Definitely.
Hey, go ahead.
I was going to say, let me tie this back to something that you talked about when you talked about capitalism.
Okay.
We've had black media companies such as BET, and BET then gets bought out by a white conglomerate that ends up, the black person makes all the money, and we have nothing as it relates to be able to do what we want to have done.
You're making my point. When white boys took over BET, they did away with the Sunday talk show where they dealt with issues. That's where Tavis Smiley got his big start. And I remember my daughter was here, this is years ago, she's still with me, and she was on BET. And I'm looking at this rap and what they're talking about. And I'm saying, that's what you listen to? Mm-hmm. I mean, talk about mind-boggling. And those folks on BT don't give a damn about us. They'll put anything up there that they think will sell.
So what do we do about it? Joe Madison would say, "What are you going to do about it?"
And I would tell him, none of your business, because he doesn't have a right to ask me what I'll do about it. Okay. He does that with his arrogant self all the time.
Okay.
So no, I'll tell him, none of your business what I'm going to do about it. What are you going to do about it? Except run your mouth. Okay, so, but let's get back to this. Kim, I think you mentioned Ronald Reagan in this, when he talked about the welfare queen.
He talked about the welfare queen showing up in their Cadillacs to get their checks.
Yeah.
And again, it's media propaganda. And it's designed to pit one population against the next. is designed to maintain a social structure. All of it, it always has been in this country. Like I say, redlining played
Major role.
a major role as far as economics, as far as being able to build wealth, as far as being able to create generational wealth that we pass down to each other. And so it's always been by design, and it's always been supported by the media.
So what you're saying then is government is a part of this whole plot.
Absolutely. There was a 60% of the exports in this country were cotton. At the beginning of 1860?
Was what?
60% of this nation's export
Way before that.
was 60%.
Yeah.
At the start of 1860 was cotton production, cotton export.
Right.
And so I mean it's always been about the exploitation of black folks for the wealth or the wealth building of this nation.
Oh, thank you. You're making my point. How can a system that's been designed to exploit you be good for you?
Exactly.
That's the question.
Exactly.
Yeah. Slavery, free labor. Those plantation owners made a lot of money on free labor.
They did.
Then right after that, they go to sharecropping.
Yeah.
A lot of money on sharecropping, and it's just a few of them that were making the money. In fact, I think we were discussing how they had to poison the poor white farmers' minds against us because they're afraid that the poor white farmers and poor black farmers might get together and revolt, and they still do that. What is it? They would tell poor whites, one thing you have is you're better than a black person. And that kept them going and kept them. I mean, I don't want to use the word because I don't use it, but the word for us became the N word.
Right.
So if you are the N word, that dehumanizes you.
Absolutely.
You're not this other person's equal.
It's the same media strategy that's in place to this day. That's why you have poor white people in rural Appalachia that depend on welfare, they depend on housing, they depend on every single social program that the government offers, but yet and still they vote lockstep Republican
Right.
to end the programs that they depend on for their survival, because they would rather cut off their noses to spite their face because they don't want black people to benefit from these programs.
Caleb, did you know this? That in Appalachia, what they would say is, we like the Affordable Care Act, but we hate Obama.
Absolutely.
We don't want no Obamacare, but we like that Affordable Care Act.
They will vote against their own interests, absolutely, just to keep black people from having any kind of benefit from any kind of social program. They'll end it all.
So we're about running out of time. So why don't you brothers take a minute to wrap up your feelings about this whole subject?
I don't know really if I can say anything about the subject that hasn't already been said. My feeling is about us being able to talk about black topics with each other. Us to you and you to us. This does not work unless we get feedback from you as to what's important to you and what we cover. So we hope that as the new program comes about, that we get a chance to hear and see what is important in your minds. Thank you. Happy New Year, and go Bucks.
Okay. As far as economics in this country, the point has been made over and over again that reparations have been paid, but they were paid to the slave owners, and so they say that topic, the subject of reparations, is moot because it's already been paid. But in closing, one of the things that I want to point out, and one of the things I like to point out, is that with this country was founded by a group of men who would rather overthrow their God-ordained sovereign than to pay more taxes. And that's everything you need to know about America. That's everything you need to know about the American system.
You know, it's interesting.
Wow.
They're finding out, I mean, Trump paid no taxes in the year 2020. And he thinks that he should be able to be the president of a country that's paying him with other people's taxes, but he shouldn't. That's how corrupt and messed up this whole system is. Yeah. So with that said, we're going to close. And this is the last version of discussion with the writer Fred. When you see us again or you see me again, it will be part of Contemporary Black Voices, bringing debates, discussions like this to you. Our fourth person will be with us, Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell, who really has a lot to say also. So thank you for being a viewer on discussion with the writer Fred. And I look to you in the future, and it'll be the same thing, telling our story our way.